I want to take some time to talk about the NOFAP flatline. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because I have been experiencing it the past week or two. And, I actually forgot about the flatline. I completely forgot about it, and it caught me completely off guard. Okay, I've been way out of it these past couple of weeks, been low energy, having trouble thinking straight. I've been burnt out, things like that. And, I just want to explain what the NOFAP flatline is and what you can do to get past it, because it does suck. Okay, NOFAP is a great life-changing tool that you can use. It's a great foundation for self-improvement. But like I said in my NOFAP cons videos, it doesn't come without its own set of problems. Now, one of the biggest problems in my opinion, is the flatline. Okay, the flatline is essentially you not enjoying life for a limited amount of time. That's the best way I can put it. Okay, everything becomes very dull. You feel like a walking shell of yourself. And if you've ever experienced depression before, it's kind of like depression. That's the best way I could describe it. It's like a light version of depression. Depression Junior is what I'll call it. It sucks. It sucks. Okay, there's no way around that. I wouldn't wish the flatline on anybody, but at the same time, it's something that you have to go through in order to reset your dopamine receptors. Okay, and yes, this is pseudoscience. I'm not gonna lie. This is my best guess, my best theory as to why the flatline happens. All that matters is that I know how to overcome it. Okay, now, the reason why you have the flatline, in my opinion anyways, is when you go on NOFAP, you are no longer giving yourself the sensory pleasure, the instant gratification that you were giving yourself, for some of us, on a daily basis, for other people, on a multiple times a day basis. Some people do it multiple times a day. And if you just go cold turkey, what's going to happen is you're basically, not giving yourself that level of dopamine anymore. But at the same time, nothing else can give you that same rush. I've said this a lot of times in the past, but the most pleasurable feeling you can feel as a man, from a physical standpoint anyways, is releasing. Okay, that is the most pleasurable sensation that you can feel as a man. So, generally speaking, if you're not feeling that feeling anymore, nothing else is going to compare to it for a little bit. Now that's where the flatline comes in. Okay, you're not receiving that same level of dopamine from either area of your life. Okay, from sex or from, PMO, or from any other area either. So life becomes dull because you're not receiving that same level of pleasure from anything. Now, this is why a lot of people don't make it past the flatline, is because they panic. They feel like NOFAP is doing more harm than good. And in the short term, you could make a reasonable argument for that. Especially if you have stuff going on in your life. Like for me, for example, I have to make these videos and I have to bring the best energy that I possibly can. I feel like my channel thrives off of positive vibes, and that's what I try to bring. But I also have to have the self-awareness to know that I don't always feel positive, and I have to learn to express that in ways that doesn't lower people's vibes. And I think that making videos like this can definitely help me do that. Now, as I was saying, the flatline is basically your body readjusting to not releasing on a very frequent basis. And there's going to be an adjustment period, and that adjustment period will vary depending on, how accustomed your body is to receiving that level of dopamine, that level of instant gratification. Okay, your dopamine receptors are basically fried. It's kind of like eating junk food. Okay, when you're used to eating junk food and you try to start eating healthy, it sucks. It sucks at first because nothing tastes as good as junk food. But over time, your taste buds begin to adapt, and the healthy food begins to taste really good to you. This is what happened to me when I went vegan. Over time, I learned to love vegetables. I didn't used to like vegetables growing up, but once I went vegan, I learned to love them. I like eating broccoli. I like eating carrots. Like, it tastes good to me. And in the same way, you have to stick through the NOFAP flatline. You have to stick through it, and you have to be aware of what it is. Okay, because if you're not aware of what it is, like I said, you'll panic. You'll panic and you'll end up relapsing. And then you're going to feel even worse. Okay, you're going to feel even worse because yes, you got that instant gratification, but now, you know that you just basically threw away all of the discipline that you've developed. And I do want to clear up this misconception. I feel like people, they get too caught up on the days, and that can be very toxic just because, whenever you get so caught up on the days, you think that a relapse will bring you back to day zero. And mentally, subconsciously, what that's doing to you is it's undoing all of the work that you've done on yourself. Okay, since we were talking about food earlier, if you eat healthy for 30 days straight and then you have one cheat meal, that doesn't mean that your body's going to shut down. Okay, you're still healthy. You're still a healthy person. You just ate one cheat meal. You messed up. Okay, just keep going. Like, that's really it. That's why I don't necessarily advocate for, counting your days. Even though I do it myself, I try not to. I really only do it for the sake of making the update videos. But outside of that, there's really no point in counting your days. I think it can be good for your ego if you feel like you're about to relapse and you need that motivation for your ego to keep going. But beyond that, you shouldn't feel like a failure anytime you relapse, because failure only occurs when you stop trying. So as long as you're still on NoFap, you're doing good. But, I'm kind of getting off topic here. The flatline. Okay, the flatline. How do you get through the flatline? You get through the flatline the same way that you get over regular depression. Okay, simple as that. You have to treat it as if it's normal depression. Now, some of the things that I personally do whenever I feel this way, and I'm going to make a whole separate video about overcoming depression, but basically, one thing that I do is I like to clean my environment. Keep your environment neat, tidy. Okay, make sure that you're staying on top of everything else outside of yourself, because your environment will reflect your inner state of being. So if you learn to change the reflection, eventually your inner state of being will change as well. You'll have more mental clarity. Okay, cleaning, keeping your environment nice, staying on top of your work. That's another thing that you need to do. Stay on top of your work, because depression and the flatline, obviously they are tough things to deal with when it's happening, but if you let yourself fall behind, okay, and this is where you have to have a lot of discipline and you have to have that big picture mindset. If you let yourself fall behind on your work, you're only going to feel worse. Okay, you're going to make it a lot worse than it has to be. Now, I know that for some people, it can be very difficult because they rely on motivation. When you're reliant on motivation, anything will be able to knock you out of commission. And it might knock you out to the point that you never fully recover from it. That's why I think it's important to plan for these things. Okay, plan for times when you're not feeling your best. Not even just in the context of NoFap, but in life in general, because you're not always going to feel 100% great all the time. Okay, that's just life. You can't experience the good without the bad. One cannot exist without the other because everything is relative. So learning to control what you can control, keeping your environment clean, staying on top of your work, that's going to put you in a space where whenever the flatline ends, you're going to hit the ground running, and you're going to be able to recover to a place that you've never even been to before. You're going to exceed your old highs. Okay, and that's what I call the rubber band analogy. Using your lows to generate momentum going into your highs. Okay, I can already feel the flatline beginning to end for me. Okay, I'm finding more pleasure in the simple things. Like, for example, I'm out here watching the sunset from my car. Okay, this is something that I love to do. And I find so much pleasure and enjoyment from doing this because I've allowed my dopamine receptors, I've allowed my mind to readjust to life. Okay, I'm no longer pleasuring myself to a screen or to a vision in my head. I'm allowing myself to enjoy real life, enjoying what's in front of me, and allowing that vibration to bring abundance to me, to magnetize abundance towards me. That's why my channel's been growing a lot, because I'm finding myself. And the way you find yourself is by living your life. But you can't do that if you're in that cycle of constantly, giving yourself artificial stimulation all the time. You're not doing yourself any favors. You're only going to lose yourself. So you have to understand that the flatline is temporary, but if you don't stick through the flatline and control what you can control and keep your eyes on the prize, okay, focus on the outcome, you're basically going to end up experiencing a much bigger flatline, which is depression, because over time, you're going to lose yourself.